Some classrooms may be open around the country, most, in fact, 95%, according to Joe Biden, but many American school children are being forced to follow unnecessary and often draconian precautions that actively harm their ability to learn. However, some brave medical experts, like my next guest, are sounding the alarm on why mask mandates hurt children in classrooms and disrupt their ability to communicate, read, and develop. My guest is clinical psychologist and author of Nervous Energy, Harness the Power of Your Anxiety, Dr. Chloe Carmichael. Dr. Carmichael, thanks for being with us.
Buck, thank you for having me, and thank you so much for being bold enough to talk about this issue.
So it seems to me that with no medical training, you're a doctor, I'm not, but just watching what's happening across the country, we know that learning loss for children for remote learning is massive. We're also now, all the data suggests that, and very few people can really make a counter argument against that. We also are seeing more and more that masks have real learning and even psychological harms in the classroom. Can you just tell us about how that works and what you're seeing?
Sure. Well, as a clinical psychologist, of course, I'm very interested in the brain and in communication. And obviously, I don't even think it takes the clinical psychologist to tell us that covering up your entire face, as well as the faces of everybody else around you, is going to be disruptive. And I'm especially concerned for children because what we have in our brains, Buck, are these things called mirror neurons. And just like the name implies, mirror neurons will mirror whatever facial expression they see. So even if I'm feeling very happy, but I see somebody else make a sad face, I don't become sad, but I physically register the presence of that sadness. It's the brain underpinnings of empathy. Now, adults can kind of fill in the blanks and the gaps a little bit, but children who are still learning these concepts, they're learning to read and send social signals. I'm really concerned about what that's going to be doing for these children. I mean, I could go on and on about it, Buck. I have so many concerns about this.
So you write in your article on this, if children don't have the normal opportunities to learn how to navigate social situations, if adults don't respond to their facial expressions, and if children are deprived of normal face-to-face social interactions, then how could we be surprised that they experience an increase in feelings of isolation and disconnection? Can you expand on this?
Absolutely, Buck. So, what I'm also concerned about, what you're highlighting there, is I'm concerned about children's self esteem. So, in a normal situation, when a child, say, makes a sad face and the teacher notices and comes over and says, "Hey, Junior, what's going on? How can I help you?" What's also happening there is the child is getting a signal that his experience is noticed and that his experience matters and that he matters. When the teacher is unable, literally, to even see what's going on with the child, I'm very concerned that that could hurt the child's self-esteem. There's also something called the facial feedback hypothesis, which is where not only do we make facial expressions based on how we feel, but we actually have our feelings informed sometimes based on our body. That's why we'll get a gut level reaction or, our face will make an expression before we even fully realize why we're making it. Now, what I'm concerned about with masks is that if it becomes less socially rewarding to make facial expressions because nobody sees them or responds to them, and then children reduce making them, then this issue, which the Surgeon General recently corroborated with a report about children's anxiety and depression going through the roof, could be exacerbated because they could have what psychologists call emotional flattening if their primary source, especially for children who may not always have words, if we're covering up their faces as well as the faces of people around them, how could we expect that this would not have an effect on their development?